And welcome back, everybody, to the Podcaster Nation. That's right. I said welcome back because I know you were just listening to our stuff and you wanted to come back for even more. Another episode, another cool story. And you know what? You're in luck. We have more for you. This is the place where it is about podcasters. It's for podcasters. And that's right. It's done by podcasters. And my guest is a podcaster, among other things. I want to thank everybody for all of the support you guys have been giving us. We're growing like crazy. We have a ton of interviews coming up. We have all sorts of good stuff coming, and you guys are the reason why we are being successful right now. So thank you, and one more time, thank you. So let me jump right into this. This guy has a ton of energy. He's one of the only guys I think I've ever interviewed that's louder than I am. I mean, which is crazy. But it's a pleasure to talk to this gentleman. Let me just introduce the host of the Scene Projects, and that's SCENE. We'll talk about that more, but the Scene Projects got his own network, got his own podcast. Please welcome songwriter, podcaster, and storyteller, Bubba Startz. Bubba, how you doing, brother?
I'm great. I'm great, Rory. Thanks for having me on your program and thanks for what you do. I think what you're doing, featuring podcasters and getting guys like me out there is so important right now as this whole swell is happening in our community, right? So I appreciate you having me on today.
No, not at all, man. It's my pleasure. You've got all kinds of stuff. You've got a really cool project set up. You've got your own network. You've got a story behind you. I mean, and we were joking around beforehand. You've been just telling your story and telling your story. It's an interesting one, man. And I think it's one that people need to hear. Everybody's out there busting it. They all are kind of feeling a little bit down, and it helps them to hear that other people might have had a little bit worse and still came back. So I'm looking forward to hearing it from you and not just reading about it on your website. Bubba, why don't you start by telling everybody, maybe a little bit about the podcast first, and then we'll get into like who you are and why you're doing it.
Awesome. Well, yeah, a year ago I was still welding, Rory. I was working in a factory and it was March. I had released a new song, a songwriter, had a new song coming out on Spotify. So I did the media tour. I was on the local news station for TV, did a local radio, and then I hit a couple of podcasts. Some good friends of mine here in South Dakota. Unfortunately, there was only two of them. And after it was over, it was like that was it, And it was like, man, we could really use more of this in our community. Just we're South Dakota, small state, right? 800,000 people total in the whole state, and it's almost over 1 million square miles, I think. So your per capita, not a lot of stuff going on here, and there's just a lack of people to do things. So when I landed in my buddy's home studio, I was like, hey, I have one of those. I have one of those. I was like, I have a podcast studio as well, don't I? And that's kind of how the Scene Projects was birthed. And the reason that we landed on the name was because we have all of these beautiful, talented people in South Dakota, but there was no scene. There's no scene. There was no scene. And I was like, you know what? I think that's the name of the show. It is the scene. And if we can't find one, then you build one. And that's the mentality behind everything that I've always done in my life. But especially with this now is to just continue to build it. If it's not out there, then we're just going to make it ourselves. And there's no shame in doing that. There's no shame in failing. There's no shame in trying. I think that's the biggest mentality shift that we have that we're trying to bring to this world. I think so many podcasters and musicians as well looking for perfection, and it's so hard to attain, right? It's just so hard to attain, but you can create magic in the trying. And that's what we're really here for. We're here to make magic, and that's what we've been working on, right? 9 months, 10 months in now, and just continue to keep growing. And that's kind of how the podcast came about. Over 100 episodes in our first year. We got 130, I think, out right now, and
Nice.
no signs of slowing. We've created several shows within the show. And when we drove into a larger network, the C-Suite Radio Network earlier this year, we were able to expand that. So now we have 5 feeds that could be running daily content on them. And Approaching everything from more of a broadcasting side, looking at each station as its own radio station and TV station, and creating content to fit underneath of that. Sometimes that's all us. Sometimes that includes bringing in other creators. So I say that what the Scene Projects is really about is not just about me. It's about empowering other creators to do what they do and to bring those conversations into our network to let us assist them in some of the marketing and the things that most creatives don't want to think about. Help us craft the show, or let us help you craft the show if you have an idea but don't know how to get it there. We want to be dream weavers in some fashion, right? To take the idea out of your head, to use our knowledge and know-how to get that to fruition. Now, whether you take that and run with it as a career, as I have, or if it's just a pet project that you're doing for fun, we want to empower that creative nature in everyone. And I don't know that there's anyone on the planet right now that couldn't be a podcaster.
Well, I couldn't agree more. I think everybody should have a podcast. That's just me. So, especially people who have a business or an interest or a hobby or anything, they're trying to push it and, make it grow. I mean, you got to have one,
Well,
So,
the financial side, right, is obvious. But even for me, I'm looking at it more as a creative. I've said a lot, Rory, on my podcast these last few months. This is how God is speaking through us. You're getting out here and sharing your story and communicating with another human being. And this format, even on Zoom, can be so empowering because it forces us to listen as podcasters ourselves, right? As the hosts, we have to sit and listen and let these stories come out. And I think this is how the world is healing itself. We'll see if the AI prevents that from happening or accelerates it. But I think this is very important. Even just a simple conversation can go so far. If it only changes one life and that life is mine or yours, Rory, then it was a mission accomplished. So with that mentality, you can't stop, right?
yeah.
Guys like, I can't stop scheduling and booking conversations. And that's why the impetus on making it work as a business became even more important, because I can't stop doing this now. Like, so I have to figure out how this makes money, not going out and finding another way to make money and then bringing it back to do that. Like, no, I can't do that. I can't. I've seen too much growth in myself. And I've seen too much growth in the people around me to even consider stopping. So yeah, we're full speed ahead right now with the Scene Projects and everything that we got going on.
I absolutely love it. And I love that, hey, if it doesn't exist, we're going to make it. I mean, just that entire attitude. I mean, everybody should be thinking that way and feeling that way in this world that we're in right now, because honestly, the sky is the limit. There's nothing you can't go create on your own, really.
I've said 1 million podcasters. That's our goal, is to facilitate 1 million podcasters, not 1 million podcast episodes. Those are easy numbers, right? I'm doing 8 interviews a week myself. 8 times, that's 400 this year, right? And that's not including ones that I'm appearing on. So when you start applying time, getting started now is the biggest thing. Getting people off the sidelines. That's why I'm writing a book. That's why, and it's all about that. It's about the unnatural, I call it an unnatural confidence that I have. I don't know where this comes from. I shouldn't be confident. I've never really done this before. I've never run a network. I've never done any of this. But as I'm learning along the way, I'm learning that it's actually not as hard as you're building it up in your head to be, right? A lot of it is having capable team members. We have a team of producers that we work with. We have a team of creators that are out there creating on their own independently already. We're just seeing how we fit in. Is our marketing and our network worthy of your time and maybe some money to be a part of what we're doing, right? And for some people who have the money and have no time, we're a major asset. We'll produce the whole thing. Send us the Zoom interview. We got it from here. We'll do your logos. We'll do the poster. We'll do everything. And then other people love that creative process, right? Other people want to be involved in that and design their logos and do everything. Well, what can we do for you? Is it listenership? Would you benefit from being on our network as one of our shows, just to bring more people into what you're doing? It's really knowing how to do a little bit of all of it and knowing the people who can do it the best and being able to facilitate just more relationships. That's all we're doing. Conversations and relationships. That's the whole world.
That unnatural confidence that you talk about, which is, I mean, on display for sure. I mean, you're not shy, brother, and I love that. You suppose that comes from what you've been through? I mean, people who have had to overcome a lot of adversity and succeed, tend to have a little more confidence in themselves. They feel a
Yeah,
little bulletproof.
yeah. Well, and Rory, you've seen a little bit of my backstory and hearing it. I've experienced homelessness. I've experienced having felonies and having the law after me. Experienced a year in a foreign country as an illegal immigrant. Right? I went to Mexico when I caught felonies for selling pot. I went, no. I watched Blow. I saw what Johnny Depp did. I'm going to Mexico, and my experience was not like his. Right? It was very hard and it was humbling. I think that's where I found, I went from playing with Monopoly money on with money that I had not earned, right? I had done nothing to earn that. I sold drugs to make that money. And then going to making, $20 a day on the street, whether I was working a construction job or I was going out and playing my guitar, in the square, I was bringing home, maybe $20 a day. But that $20 also fed my family, and that love that we had down there from the people of Mexico, especially in the small area that we were in, it changed my life, right? It showed me that money isn't what makes this world go around. Love is, and you don't need a lot of money to do that. It definitely made me start questioning the economic system I had been raised in, and why there was so much placed on, the newest cars and the biggest things, and not something necessarily that I subscribed to wholesale anyway. Otherwise, I probably would have had nicer cars and bigger houses. But it was that you don't need a lot of money to love your kids and to want to raise those kids to be good people, and then watch them raise their kids, right? And seeing life for what it was down there was the impetus for wanting to come home, right? Realizing I wasn't going to raise my children down there. They didn't choose that life. I did. My son Mick was born down there. He's the palest, blue-eyed Mexican you've ever seen, and we're very proud of it. We're very proud of the time that we spent down there. We're very, still have relationships with the people down there, right? Because we didn't just land down there and we were on our own. We had a family and families that took us in and took care of us, right? Without them, I'm not here, and it was humbling. And then to come back and you do 2 years in prison after that, and the commitment to changing my life. I wasn't just there to do the time. I was there to change. I was there because God put me there. I'm very lucky that he spared my life with a couple of, car accidents. I didn't get hurt in, but I could have been, 80 miles an hour, and you clip a rear view mirror off of your truck as you hit the rumble strips, right? Even that wasn't a wake up call, right? It should have been the wake up call, hindsight. But, I was very fortunate that I didn't kill myself, that I didn't hurt someone else while I was in that space, and that I was inspired by, that year in Mexico and watching people go to work and to grind it out for very little money, right? And that put me on the right path. That set me back on you have to work for it. There's no way around the work. There is no easy path. If you want an easy path, well, then you're going to hit speed bumps and you're going to do prison time and you're going to have all of these setbacks. It's much easier to work hard for the things that you want. So I learned how to weld in prison. I actually met my wife, Danielle. She was a correctional officer at the prison I was in. Now she raises my 3 kids with me, and it's hard for me to look back not fondly on the time that I spent there. It gave me the life that I had up until a year ago, and gave me a launching pad for the life that I have now. Without the credit that I had amassed, working that job for 5 years, I would have never had the credit and the bank account and the line of credit to go out and to do the things that we've done in the last year, to not work a regular job and give somebody else 50, 60 hours a week to be able to do that. So where I maybe should have saved up money and had cash available, that just wasn't where our economy was last year. I didn't have any money.
Right.
The credit cards were already maxed out just living a life. So what is it to just take some more credit and run with it and see what happens? I call it pulling on a thread, Rory. I'm just pulling on this thing, and the truth is being revealed every single day. I dig a little bit deeper, and today's a big one for me. I'm interviewing, or not interviewing, but having a meeting with the local news station, TV station,
Nice.
and I'm talking to them about where podcast and their TV broadcasts come together, right? Because this is all new, and it's new to them too. And it could be even more scary for them because they got a lot bigger bills to pay. And I'm coming in and starting to eat into those advertising dollars, right? Every bit of attention that I get is possibly pulling attention away from them. And hence why they're even interested in talking to a podcaster with, a few thousand followers on the internet, but someone who knows how to get eyeballs. We touch a couple 100,000 Facebook and, social media accounts a year or a month. We're 10,000 a month on our website alone, which to me seems like really crazy numbers, but we have some marketing out there working. We have a big voice when you're releasing daily episodes. That is a cumulative effect, right? They're going out there, and maybe when they hit, they don't get to 5 to 10,000 views right away, but they're all building in the background, and they're all feeding everyone else's algorithms every time that they listen to this stuff. So, yeah, we're just putting it out there. The message will find the communities that it's supposed to, and just keep going. Just keep pushing content. Don't get caught up on I don't get caught up. We talked about editing. I don't get caught up wasting a lot of time there. I don't get caught up wasting a lot of time on, oh, this description has to be perfect this way and that way. Look, learn how to do it well. Be good at what you're doing. If you're using hashtags, use them properly. But you can also find people that are really good at that. And if your product is solid, people will want to start investing in you, and they will help you get to those levels. You don't have to have it all together to step out there and just start having a conversation on Zoom. I mean, Rory, this is as easy as it gets.
Absolutely. I mean, this is great advice you're just throwing out for everybody. I'll absolutely love it. I hope people are paying attention to this. So let me
Well,
go
I
ahead.
got to stop throwing it out for free, Rory, so they'll buy the book.
Now, do you have a date on this book that's coming out, or is it in progress?
In the next few months, we're probably going to publish it just as an ebook this year. It's only about 20,000 words. But once again, that was because I put the work in. I woke up every day for a month and a half and I wrote 750 to 1,000 words. That was the mission, right? Set a goal, wake up. Before I did any interviews or anything, I was typing. I typed those 1,000 words and be like, okay, you accomplished something today. And by, 7 a.m. my time, I had already moved my life forward that little bit. And, when it finally got to the point where it's like, there's a pretty coherent message. I don't need to try to grind on myself to come up with, another 20,000 words on what? Like this is here. It is what it is. Let's get it out there. Let's let it start doing some good, and let it be the long form conversation rather than, 5 minutes of me just talking your ear off. I just told you everything that's in this book, but go and digest this at your pace. A little bit of, what to buy, what not to worry about, and those things, but getting people off the sideline. That's my goal. There's plenty of people out there that can teach you how to do it better, but there's not enough people teaching you that you're already capable of doing this. Get on your computer, talk to your buddy on Zoom, and talk to your girlfriend about whatever the hell you're going to talk about on the phone anyway. Go talk about it on camera, record it, and now you have a podcast. And the book is really about what is that message inside of you that needs to come out? What is that story? Maybe it's a traumatic experience. Maybe it's your prison time. Maybe it's your homeless days, your vagabond days, touring the West Coast with a guitar on your back like me. And that's why one podcast wasn't enough, Rory, right? I've lived 12 different lives. It's hard to stay focused on that one thing and to not expound in all different directions. But, you want to make stuff consumable for the listener. Thank goodness most of your listeners are probably podcasters themselves and are used to this kind of conversation. But, the greater listener, some people just want to be entertained. So, the Scene Projects is more that. Let me introduce you to, friends of mine that are super talented, 25 years of making music. I got some pretty awesome friends out there. Let me introduce you to them. And then that expounded to, well, let's introduce you to their music now. And then that expounded to, man, I just keep sharing about my prison time on these podcasts. Maybe I should get real with people. And then that became our program, Get Better Together, where we just dig into the real stuff, Rory, and talking about our family trauma and talking about just being honest with yourself, right? Coming on here. And I think for us, like, this is how we give people that confidence by just going out and being ourselves and them seeing this. Hopefully that gives you to like, hey, you know what? I can talk about that time where I did something that I wasn't proud of either, but it's been eating me up inside. And because I just try to bury it, but I know that it's there. And I heard it described as, you have to pull these things. You can't just like bury them under a bush, right? Like, they're going to be there. You have to bring the spotlight to it and examine it. And you can leave it there, but you can go look at it too. And you can be like, that was there, that made me who I am, but I don't have to carry that anymore either. I can drop that backpack and walk away from that and just go be the man or the woman that I am today. And that's when this really started to accelerate, right? That's when the empowering creators, empowering podcasters, getting people off the sidelines, that's when this idea really started to take hold and accelerate, because I saw what it did for me. I saw how getting my crap out of me and onto tape had a profound effect on myself, right? It was a therapy session that whether we posted it for the world or not, I had on tape and I had it out of me. And more than just leaving it in a room with some therapist who's already forgotten what you said as soon as it came out of your mouth, I have it. And I can go back to that. And when my kids grow up and they're ready for that conversation, I can direct them to that. Or, leaving a legacy is something that we talk a lot about, right? That's kind of part of it. But reclaiming a reputation. Maybe there's some things out there that aren't true about you, but nobody wants to talk about that. Everybody wants to smear your name while they have the chance, but they don't want to pump you up when you deserve it. And that's, this project and everything that we're working on is to pump people's tires. Even if you're coming out here to sling all the mud on yourself that you feel like you deserve, we're here to clean you off. We're here to fill you back up and send you on your way a little bit better than you were before. And that's every single guest that's on our show, or every show that I'm a guest on at this point.
Nice. I mean, you're just throwing fire right now for everybody. So that's beautiful. You've mentioned. I want to go back to just this real quick. You mentioned it several times about your faith and about how God has interceded in your life. I'm curious. Now, were you raised that way? Have you always had that sort of devotion to faith and that connection, or was that something that developed throughout your adversity and things that you went through along your life?
You can only have your lives saved so many times, right? Before you believe in something greater than yourself. You can call it source, you can call it creator, you can call it God. I prefer God because I think that's the easiest to connect with people, especially with the Christian faith. I take a lot from a lot of different religions, right? I've always studied more as a kid, wasn't raised religious at all. So I got into, I was kind of a hippie, started smoking pot really early on. Got into, Buddhism and things like that and spirituality. But coming back around to growing older, right? Educating yourself, realizing that there's a lot more interconnectedness between all of the religions of the world, all of the man-created religions of the world than there are differences, and putting those into practice in my life. And, reading some interesting literature. Obviously, prison gives you a lot of time to read. Read a couple different versions of the Bible in there. I was a member of the Full Gospel band, so I was attending the church services there. And what was great about that service, especially, was that they taught the Gospels. It wasn't getting caught up a lot into the Old Testament and into everything is the law of this. It was more of, this is the way that Jesus lived. These were the teachings. And then that may take you down to some other books that are not in the Bible and, some of the other Gospels, Enoch and some of these things that are out there. And realizing that what Christ was trying to teach on his time on earth was that we have that same power. We have this power inside of us. I am not so different from you. I am a man as well. If I'm capable of turning water into wine, so are you. And why are you asking me to perform miracles when I'm telling you that you are capable of these same things? And it's kind of waking up to that. My life is an embodiment of that, right? When I set out with the intention to pull on this thread to attack, and not to attack necessarily, but to venture forth into the darkness. We had no idea what we were doing. It takes a lot of faith to quit your $50,000, $60,000 a year job, say, I'm going to make no money every week,
Yep.
and to just keep going. And whether it was, my life being spared at, on an interstate in Nevada doing 80 miles an hour after staying up for 3 days, doing meth and, traveling with 40 pounds of pot in my vehicle, let even just a little bit more severe wreck and I'm in prison in Nevada, right? Any one of these things changes slightly and I'm not here. So yeah, whatever you want to call it, I have been spared. I have been spared for a purpose. I think I've finally found that purpose, and I'm not going to act like I got here on my own. And while I've had a great team of human beings around me, an incalculable amount at this point. I talked about families in Mexico, friends that have housed me on the West Coast when I was there, my wife and her family here. None of it is possible without the whole human race working at the same time to get where we are today. And now we're just trying to use that energy, that understanding, and to keep pushing forth. And that's why we have to turn it around. It has to become a service to us. This isn't about me just becoming the biggest. While I want the security and the notoriety of what a Joe Rogan experience brings, right? Being that guy, that's a great thing, right? I would never consider myself worthy of all of that without giving the glory to God, without saying that this wasn't from me. Something else has made this possible. A lot of people, a lot of other human beings living their lives and pursuing their dreams have made this possible. So I think it's more out of respect than anything, Rory. A deep faith that I know somebody has my back, and respect when you've been delivered. When I have prayed for signs and wonders, I have seen signs and wonders. And you have to be able to see those in the smallest of ways to really appreciate it. So it's a spiritual path that I've been on, not necessarily a religious path. And I continue to give glory where glory is due and to keep moving forward. I don't feel like God is in a book. God is around us. God is in this conversation, right? God is in every conversation as we share our stories. So that's why I come to this is how we're healing the world, Rory, by all of us sharing our stories with one another and healing each person bit by bit. That's our church. This is our church. The Podcaster Nation is a member of that, right?
Yeah.
And the Scene Project's walking the same path. So yeah, it's been a journey. I haven't always been the best listener. I haven't always been the best student, but now I've been put in a position to become a teacher and to help other people. And just because you don't know it all doesn't mean that you can't teach people that know less than you do. And that's exactly what we're working on now, right? How do we get them off the sidelines and out here speaking for God as well? And whatever, for creator, for source, whatever you want to call it, I promise you, once you start having these conversations and they change you, you will feel it too.
Love that. Absolutely love it. And thank you for sharing that. I mean, not everybody wants to talk about that topic, but I appreciate you being as open as you were. I think it's going to help some folks, to mark the line in the sand on some of those delineations that they deal with. So thanks, man. Back to your network a little bit, because we kind of gloss over it and we go, hey, he's got his own network. Now, people might sit there and go, okay, so what does that mean? Especially a lot of podcasters who have never been in one and don't understand what one is. First, what's your definition of your network? Okay. And what is it? How does it work? And then why does that matter? You know what I mean? To podcasters or somebody who might be going, man, I love this guy. I want to be a part of what he's doing. Just Give us a roll.
Well, the network started because I just had too many things in my head, right? I had one feed, right? I had one Podbean feed, but I'm talking about all of these different topics, and everybody wants to be niche, 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 niche. Okay, well, here's a show within a show. I listen to a lot of Andy Frisella, and he has several shows within the show. I was like, oh, that's a great idea. So I can have multiple things kind of going on. It'll just be under this feed. No big deal. Well, I filled that up with daily content really quick. We have the Scene Project interviews. We have the Songwriter Showcase. I was doing a review show we call Love Noise. I was doing all of these things just around music. And it was great, right? It was daily feeds coming out. We had plenty of content rolling. The problem was that it kept stacking up. And it was like, well, even doing 5 shows a week, we were still creating more content than we were releasing. So I was introduced to a man, Jeffrey Hazlett is his name. He started the C-Suite Network, which is for, CFO and above level, that corporate world, because great value in podcasting for people who are consultants and coaches and have a product to sell. So he created this, I think 7 years ago or so now, and he's been running this program. Well, I saw him give his keynote speech, and it's pretty much, you need a podcast. You need a podcast. I'm like, I got 100 episodes. What can you do for me, right? And I talked with him and his son, Tyler, who had already organized, speaking engagements, and I was sold. I watched him do his thing, and I was like, just give me a script. I'll just go sell that. I sold magazines door to door. I know how to read a script. I'll go sell your book. And they're like, easy, Bubba. This is how you do it. Go write your own book. And then we'll teach you. We'll put you into our network, and you can sell this and come to our events and do the speaking engagements. And then once I unlocked that level, it was like, okay, how do we get more people into this thing, right? How do I be the top of the funnel for that? Because they're a very exclusive C-suite, right? A little more exclusive club to get into. They want headliners. They want people like me coming into the network that they can put on the TV. I think that, Jeff is on TV every single day, MSNBC or one of the channels, right? Talking business. He's got his own show. He's growing his network. So I'm trying to grow, I call it the JV team, but we're just trying to get people off the bench. Come on, come and play. Get started, and who knows who the next headliner is that elevates through the C-Suite radio network, that elevates into the C-Suite TV network, hopefully coming soon. And we're all on broadcast television, man. I mean, if Pat McAfee can do it and he's on ESPN every single day, then why can't we? And I guess that's how I take everything. If Theo Vaughn can interview JD Vance and Donald Trump, why can't I? Watching Theo Vaughn talk to, I can't do good cocaine anymore with the vice president, right? And I'm like, all bets are off now. All bets are off. Elon Musk is on TV telling everyone that we are media now. Yes, we are, Elon. Thank you for that confidence. And now we're going to go out, right? I'm talking about, TV, radios or interviews with our local TV station, right? To get our content into their world and how we all take it. So the bigger stations, the broadcast channels out there, radio and TV, are taking heed. Nobody's watching, and you better give them reason to watch. And if that means poaching people that have an audience and putting them on your program, then you got to do what you got to do, because otherwise you're going to be bankrupt. And I think that the mainstream media now understands that. There's a lot lower cost to paying me than paying some, I don't know what anchors get paid for, right? They're probably making a pretty good penny. So how much better to just have a business relationship with me for a fraction of the cost, and I just feed you all the content anyway, and you're getting a consistent product. So that's kind of where it led to. And yeah, empowering creators. You asked me to describe what we do, and that's what we're all about. Just getting people off of the sidelines, getting you the know-how that you don't have, possibly helping you, helping where you're weak. Maybe you help where you're strong, right? It's not about how we can help you. It's about how you can help everyone else over here, right? We're a community, and no different than the community that you have. Every show that you're due is empowering another creator to get their voice out there to a new audience. Okay, great. If you're toiling with, only 30 views a month on your YouTube, well, we get a little bit more than that. And well, we're not getting millions. We can get you a few hundred. And if that's a tenfold improvement over where you were at, how is that not a successful relationship? And we're not even a year in. So we're just growing too. So it's kind of a come in, we will help and work with you to facilitate anything that needs to be done. If your marketing sucks, cool. We know how to help with that. If it's your production on the backside, microphones to use, but you don't know what to buy or how to set it up, we'll help with that too. There's a lot of information out there. We want to be the still. We want to take all of that mash and we want to distill it down to grain alcohol. And we want to give you the fire. Like you said, I want to deliver on the real message. I'm not trying to swindle around and take the long route to get you to buy a product from me. You want to be part of the club. It's an open door policy. What do you bring to the table? Well, what are you bringing to our community to enhance what we're doing and empower yourself as well as others? And if we're all coming in with this mentality and running this playbook, golly, Rory, we're going to be somewhere really special in another year.
That's awesome. I love it. You're talking me into it right now. I'm like, yeah. So, do you do any speaking, motivational speaking or anything? I mean, you seem like you're
That's
pretty
the
good at
goal,
it.
right? That's the goal. This building an authority, becoming an authority was our mission for this year. I think we're doing that. For us, it's been about content. We're very new to the YouTube game and shifting over. I came off of Podbean in December and onto my new network, January 1st, pretty much. So we're only 40 days into our new system. So we had a learning curve, right? Can we get content out every single day? Yes, we can. Okay. Well, can we keep continuing to record enough content to feed that? Well, if we include every, Sam, Tom, and Mary into what we're doing, then yes, that's very attainable, right? And then every time we have a new idea, it's a little bit of money to just start a new network or start a new show or, a new channel. Each channel has available for programming, and we're just trying to get to one post a day or one show a day on all these. We could be running 2 a day on these. A news show like the Daily Wire has a morning and afternoon show every single day. Can we get some of these programs to that level, right? And it's a matter of, well, is the content there to do it? Is there a ability? Is there a want? Is there a message that needs to be shared that often? And if there is, then we make it happen.
Very, very cool. Very cool. I love too because you've been answering like all the questions I normally ask folks sort of one at a time as you go. So I mean, you've handled just about everything on my sheet that I like to ask people. Like how'd you get started, and things like that. And you just have just rolled through all of it. Let me ask you this, about the network. Are you actively looking for podcasters to join the network and team up with, or are you kind of full, or kind of where are you with that? In case someone's listening, and going, man, that sounds good.
Yeah, no, we are wide open. We could have a million feeds with a
Hmm.
million podcasts, right? That's kind of the goal, that big vision. If we, once it gets full, it's a little bit of money to start another feed, the way that we're set up now with our network. So the C-Suite Radio Network really unlocked the keys for us. Like I said, they're a little bit more of a and I don't want to say totally exclusive, but they're looking for a certain clientele where we're more open to creators. I want people that, I'm not as interested in Joe Rogan beer bonging and smoking cigars with his buddies. Like while those shows have value, that's not necessarily what we're about. Our network is growing because we want people that are having real conversations, that are getting into that stuff, right? So if you're finding yourself kind of floating out there in the world where you feel like your podcast doesn't have a home in the larger community because you're touching on topics that maybe aren't entertaining, they're a little deeper, and that's the kind of stuff that we're looking for, especially with the Get Better Together project. Each one of the channels is a project of its own. So the interpretation of all of these is wide open, and that's hence why the Scene Projects is the name of the network. We have the
Nice.
Scene Project, which is our music and interview kind of based things. We have the Songwriter Showcase Project that is getting more of the music side out there. We're talking about leveraging this into internet radio and exploring that as well, so that all of these catalogs of music that we're working with are running. But the Get Better Together project is all about self-help, confronting your addictions, confronting, trauma that you faced in the past, and then how the hell are you going to get out of it, right? You can't just stay stuck there,
Right.
and we're building a community that we want to be retreats, and we want it to be physical community as well. And that's the big goal to this. You talk speaking engagements. Yes, I would like to take all of these podcasters that are at the top of our network and to deliver a, 1-day event where you get to hear these people deliver their story in person and get to meet them, and to have our own pod fest, right? The Scene Projects Fest, and to do that once a year. I love playing live music, Rory. I've done it my entire life. I love being with people. I love connecting. And that's what we're trying to do. Using this podcast media, using the form that it is to grow a wider audience, so that when we do show up in your town, everybody knows who the hell we are. And we're not relying on, spending thousands of dollars on Facebook advertising and everything to get there. If they're going to let us put content out on YouTube and all of these other platforms for essentially for free every single day, then we're going to do that. And the more people we can have going out through our channels, I call it a big umbrella, right? Come be under our umbrella and grow. And we're not trying to keep you here. Like, let us shelter you while you grow. And then when you're ready to fly, go fly. Because you're going to carry our name with you when you leave as well. And you'll always be a part of what we built and what we're building. And that's why empowering is the first word, right? You asked me what we do. Empowering people is the biggest thing, because we don't want to, we're not here to use you. We're here to teach you everything that we know, maybe learn a little bit from you in the meantime. And then let's all go out there and kick some ass.
Love it. Empowering others is the whole point to the whole game. So when you said that to me, I was like, all right, we're on the same page here. This is gonna go well. I have to ask this corny question because I ask it of everybody. It's my own self-imposed rule. Okay, so but I always get really good answers, and with you, I have no idea where we're gonna go with it. So,
Rory, can I pause you? Can I pause you for 2 seconds?
Oh yes,
just kicked on, and I got kids and a wife that need a hug real quick.
Absolutely, you do what you got to do. And we're back. All right. Hey, that's the beautiful part about podcasting, man. It's totally real.
It's like we never left.
That's right. There we go. All right. So hey, back to it. And I appreciate you going a little bit over, just because I wanted to hear more of your story. So I didn't stop you or anything. I was like, hey, let's just keep rolling. My corny question is real simple. As you do your podcasting, your network and all your projects and everything else, what is the part about doing the podcasting part and what you're doing that you love the most? And what is the part about what you're doing that you just absolutely hate the most? And I know hate's a strong word, but what do you love the most? What do you hate the most about what it is you're doing?
The connection is the thing I love the most. I live in a town of 1,000 people in the middle of South Dakota, right? I know my whole town. I love the people in my town. Takes me 90 minutes to reach a place that has over, 50,000 people, right? The next town over is 14,000. And then the next one past that's like 7. And I have to go an hour and a half to get to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which is, 200,000 people, right? So this is how I connect with the world. And it's amazing, right? Like, to be able to use this technology to, I got producers that are in, Africa, producers that are in the UK. I talk with a lot of people from Canada and just people that I would have no connection with without this, and without the communities like the Facebook group that we're a member of, the Podcasters of Facebook, right? 50,000 people in there, all doing the same thing that you are, man. And that's been the incredible thing to me, is I never feel alone now, because it's very easy to feel alone out here when I have these conversations with regular people that don't even really know what a podcast is, right? It's a very lonely feeling when you're having to explain everything over and over again. And so that connection with other creatives has been my favorite part. My least favorite part, the part I hate, editing. Oh my goodness. I am not a fan. I hate listening to myself anyway. That's why most of our editing is, slap an intro on, slap an outro on, call it good and send it out the door. I already had the conversation. I remember what I said. That already changed me. Now, in 10 years, Am I going to want to go back and listen to some of these and remember my friends? And, when these friends inevitably, some of them pass away or something, that I'm going to have that moment with them? You betcha. I'm going to go back and I'm going to remember that moment. But that's not where I'm at right now. And I'm sure not trying to end an interview and then jump right into the editing bay and re-listen to the same thing. I just don't like it. So now we got a team of producers that kind of handle that stuff, and social media content. They chop it all up into shorts and do all that. I'm 38, Rory. I know you're probably a little bit older than me, but I missed the boat on all of that. While most people were getting into their phones, in their 20s. My first iPhone came from a homeless guy because he found it on the side of the road, right? And I was like, yeah, man, I'll trade you some weed for that phone. Sure. Like,
Right.
and then it was just on Wi-Fi, but I connected with my family, and that's all it was to me. Doing all this video content stuff, the short form, I'm not great at it. I know I'm not great at it, which is probably the best part. I'm not a visual artist. I'm a talker. I'm a songwriter. I'm a singer. That's where my art lies. That's what I do well. I mean, I'll screw up a stick figure, Rory. I'm not an artist at all. So, this visual medium isn't my space. And I only wanted to grow enough to have the people that are good at those things that want to go. I talk about gravity a lot. Once you do your own thing and you're so good at the thing that you do, you're going to have gravity to that. And other people are going to come out that want to work with you because they see what you're doing isn't necessarily something that they do well, right? The people that I have producing aren't great in front of a camera all the time. They could never produce enough of their own episodes to have something to work on all the time. So, well, hey, buddy, I have plenty of work. Here is this. And now we get to kind of team up. And that's where the network is growing, right? These producers have their own podcast. So now their podcast is part of the network, but they're also a part of the network. Like, we don't just want your show. We want you. Because you add something to the mandala of what we're building here, right? Everybody, we're like a stained glass mosaic, right? Everybody has their part, and while we all look broken on the ground, when you start to fashion us together in these ways and you group us and like-minded people over here is this color, and then you add this color to it, well, you can get some pretty beautiful stuff going on. And that's what we're trying to build, is just piece by piece, human by human, right? Podcaster by podcaster. And then, let's see where we're at. We have no idea what we're building right now. Yes, we have a network. I don't know what that means, right? I know it means that we are a collective of people that have a like-minded vision that all want to see our message reach a larger audience. Okay, how do we do that? Right? If you're working 60 hours a week and you barely have time to record an episode, much less edit it and get it out there and make sure that it's getting all the stuff done to it. Okay, well, you probably don't have time to do all the things. Let us find where we can help you. If there's a monetary value that has to be attached to that because you're asking someone else to do work for you, well, then we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But also, what can you add? Are you able to add value to someone else's life? And now we're able to barter back and forth, and we can all support each other where we're weak, and we can, go out and support others where we're strong. And I think by building it like that, it's going to be a beautiful, more than a house of cards, right? Something that's very strong and stable, because you could remove any one piece and there's someone to plug into that. And that's only going to come with time, right? We're at the very beginning levels of this thing right now. Do we have all the pieces? No. That's why I'm out here recruiting.
I love it. I absolutely love it. See, again, great answer to that corny question. That's why I keep asking it. Last question for you, man. And I appreciate your time. You've given a ton of advice to people just throughout the entire podcast. So let me narrow it down a little bit more in terms of who we're talking to. But what is your best piece of advice you have for the podcaster who's maybe stuck? It's like they're kind of at, wherever they're at with downloads. They're not real sure if they want to keep going. They're not seeing the growth, and they're going, hey, I love doing this, but why am I doing it? What's your best piece of advice to those folks?
Right. Well, and I'll kind of two-part it. So for people that maybe have an idea to start podcasting and want to do that, just start, right? And if you're stopped and you've already kind of built something and you feel a little burnout, start being a guest on other people's shows. It'll relight that fire in you. That's what's really happened for me. I was getting burnt out being the host all the time. You kind of end up having the same conversation. I'm sure you can relate. You're asking a lot of the similar questions and running it down. It can feel almost like a trap, right? But being a guest on other people's shows is how you're going to grow your brand. That's how you're going to grow your audience, is by getting you out there. People aren't listening to your show for your guests. They're listening for you. But if you're just telling them the same thing every time and you're not expanding and you're not, giving them something different, well, then eventually they're going to tune out as well, right? And that's why having, shows within the show for me was so important right away, because I have all these different ideas. Just like, go chase them, right? So if you're stuck, go chase something different. And that doesn't necessarily mean something different entirely. Maybe go chase a different side of the podcasting. Maybe dig into the editing side a little bit if you're not an editor or something. Maybe go dig. There's plenty of stuff to do in this world that will spark your creativity. It's so easy with so many podcasters out there looking for guests right now. Like, if you started your own podcast, you have an interesting story. That alone, you've created something out of nothing. Where there was once nothing before, now you made something that's interesting. So start being a guest, and that's a great way to grow your channel and to make some new friends. And now you have other people that you can interview, and that's how I stay in it. That's how it's, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, I'm interviewing. And there's Mondays and Fridays where it's like, no, those are the days where I'm a guest on other people's shows. And I get to go share more of my story and to be that person rather than to always just be on this one side of the microphone, right?
Nice. Love it, man. Absolutely love it. Where can people reach you if they want to reach out, get more information about, Bubba and the Scene Projects and everything else?
Thesceneprojects.com. That's where you can start. Click join. You'll get on our email list and get our newsletter. I'm pretty much in there every day. I like to stay connected. I don't consider it spammy because I'm not in there selling you something. I'm in there telling you what I'm doing today. I'm sorry that my life is a little too busy for your liking. You can ignore that one, right? I'm not going to stop being me because you. Right. I haven't done that my entire life. I have always just been this same unique, motivated person. And if me being myself motivates other people to get off their butts, well, then I'm not worried about the people that are like, God, you just email too much. And do you really need to release a show every day? Yeah. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. I'm okay with that too. And I think that's something that a lot of us can get caught up in as a songwriter, as a podcaster now too. It's very easy to get caught in that. So join our community, right? If you want to be inspired, if you want to be motivated, thesceneprojects.com, join us, click the join right up in there, throw your email in, and get started. Let us know where you're at in your journey, and we want to connect with you. I'm literally the voice behind everything. There's no AI here, baby. We're 100% live and on fire from the moment I wake up, even if it's a little late for an early morning podcast, and would just stay this way all day.
That's awesome, man. That's absolutely awesome. Brother, thank you for coming on the show today and just, sharing everything and being open and transparent and honest and letting everybody know about your vision and just for being you. Honestly, it was a fantastic interview. I really appreciate you coming.
Well, thank you, Rory, and thanks for what you're doing. You are empowering creators as well. So I appreciate the podcast nation, and we're just going to keep growing, man. This thing ain't stopping anytime soon. The wave is coming, and I think the monetization of all of these things are coming fast now as well. So definitely something. I know we didn't really hit on it in the interview today, but
right.
Learning how to make a little bit of money. Maybe you're not getting $50,000 an episode from it. Very few people are, right? But there's ways for you to empower businesses in your community to do it as well. And if you haven't started a podcast yet, do it today.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Thank you, man. Guys, this has been another awesome episode of the Podcaster Nation. This is the place that, hey, it's about podcasters. It's for podcasters. It's done by podcasters. This is the place where the rising tide raises all ships. So keep sailing. Until next time.